Oh, there he is. I heard you as soon as I said hello. I hear everything.
Hey there. How are you, Ed?
What do you think that was? You kept showing up,
Yeah.
and I didn't hear a word. Now you're magically there. What was that?
Must be the aliens.
It must be.
Yeah, you know what?
Explain that in terms of your show. The X Zone sounds to all my friends. They're like, oh, so you got a UFO show on.
Oh,
I said, well, I said, oh, so you have ghosts on. This guy is a ghostbuster. I said, well, no, I have been presenting this defense. I said, well, he's grounded in science and in concrete reality.
Exactly.
So wherever it goes, if it's factual and it's a data point, shouldn't he go? And they go, yeah, he's probably a ghostbuster. I said, he's not a ghostbuster. Listen when he's on. All right, go ahead. Explain what you do.
All right,
the subject matter.
The X Zone is a place where people dare to believe, and they are also dare to be heard. Like people who have had experiences or claim to have experiences come on our show, Ed, and your listeners are going to find out because they feel that they can talk openly and honestly, and they're not afraid to hear what I have to say, the questions I have to ask, the sincerity that they bring to the show, the skepticism that 9 times out of 10 I bring to the interview is a perfect match. And just for you, Ed, and your wonderful listeners, we are bringing 5 of the top people in the world of the X Zone to your show, to your network next week. We have Georgina Cannon, Dr. Georgina Cannon.
Yeah. Let me absorb that. Say that one more time. These are the people, the top 5 people in what?
In the X Zone Nation that we've had on.
Great. Excellent. Awesome. We're going to meet 5 of the champions of the X Zone Nation.
That's right.
I can't wait for. What will they share with us?
All right. First of all, Dr. Georgina Cannon, she is going to talk about past life regression and those people that she has actually past lived who claim to have been from other planets. Now, these are people who undergo hypnosis. Georgina is a master hypnotist. She teaches the medical profession how to use hypnosis instead of different procedures. I'll give you a perfect example. My wife had to go into the hospital for a test where they actually send a tube, a cable with a camera down your throat to check your throat, your esophagus, and the lining of your stomach. My wife was totally freaking out, and Georgina, over the phone, taught her to use self-hypnosis. Well, she went through the test. She aced it. She said, you know what, Robbie? If it wasn't for Georgina, I would have totally been whacking out. Georgina is not only a guest on the X Zone Nation. I've had the pleasure of knowing this lady for a number of years. We're good friends. And when it comes to people who talk about hypnosis, past lives, this lady is a no-nonsense lady. So it's going to be great for the listeners who can call in, ask Georgina questions, and that's on Monday. Tuesday, are you ready for this one?
Well, not yet, because I have a million questions about the first item. So hold on with number 2.
All right.
Here's a verb you used. I'm going to start using it.
Sure.
You made it a verb. Past lived. Did you hear yourself say that?
Yep.
Georgina has past lived people. Okay. So just a very brief answer, point blank.
Yep.
You believe at all in past lives?
No.
Yes, sir. You don't?
Nope.
And again, short answer, what would cause this phenomenon to your way of thinking, using logic and data and not using any belief system? What might cause the experience for a person of a past life in science? Like in science, or anything that you could hook it to?
The will to live further, the will to live on, the coincidences that some people say, well, I've lived this life before. There are people who actually say they've lived a life, and it's been found out that when further investigated, they knew things about the existence of another person, another place, another thing that they could not have known by any rational means. It's mind-boggling. But most of the people, I'd even go into the high 90s, when they go back in their lives and they investigate through their own psyche, because we have to realize that over the years, these people are taking in data. Like, we're inundated with data, and the data isn't flushed.
Losing the answer to the question as to what you'd hook it on if it were to make some sense. If they were having an experience, whether it's literally a past life, but if they're having an experience, you were saying it would reflect their struggle and future going forward? I didn't get that part. What does it reflect that they have this experience? I think I've been here. I think I was in the Revolutionary War. I'm sure of it. They have specific memories. What do you think that might be?
Deja vu.
That they were there and they're remembering it, or they're just imagining a memory and believing it is a memory?
Believing a memory, whether it's real, which I doubt. Because people want to live. People don't want to just have 80, 90 years and then kick the bucket and then that's it.
But now I have a theory. Okay. I think there's a physical link to past lives that we'd all agree is in the human. Now, you were looking at it futuristically, right? And the difficulty of struggle.
Yes.
Did I hear that right? Yeah. You've heard this term, the reptile brain?
Yes.
Meaning what? When people say, you know what, that's your reptile brain talking, what are they referring to, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's the cold-heartedness of reality and how they perceive life.
What about length of time of that memory? I thought reptile meant you are remembering before we evolved into, isn't that what they were saying? That when we were other species, we have the memory of our previous evolved state. That when we crawled out of the water, we have memory of that. When we stood up, we have memory of that. When we started digesting food, we have memories of this that stay like in a hard drive in the back of the DNA code. All right, that's my premise. My solution to past lives is exactly that it trickles out of the back. And it is real because it's in your noggin. Biologically, it's in there.
All right.
It's not imaginarily in there. It's in there from physical air that was breathed at the time, processed into your cell data as you evolved and your cells got resealed and reorganized. So that to me is a cumulative. It's like water on a rock for 10 million years. You'd expect something to be there. What do you think of that? That they're having a physical experience inside their own physicality?
That would not explain why most of the people who undergo past life
not when I hear not right away, I know that's a negative. Okay, it misses something. Go on. What is it not explaining? Yes, go on.
It doesn't explain why most of the people who go into past life regression are Cleopatra, Caesar,
it would.
Jesus.
Now, why doesn't that make my point?
Well,
that's my point. The superlative humans reach further. The dimwits have no idea where it's coming from, right? There's one Isaac Newton. Everybody got hit in the head with apples. Mm-hmm. Only one genius was able to put together gravity. So isn't Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, aren't they exactly who should have the richest past life? Because they're gifted at intuition and people followed them and they were great personalities. Wouldn't those be classic reptile rememberers? No?
Or is it a psychological want or need of the person having the past life regression?
I'm dismissing that. That's too silly for it sticking around for thousands and thousands of years and being so. And now that we know the reptile file is in there. See, long before we knew about cumulative memory, everything we witnessed in the Roman Empire, we were always looking at the gods, right? It was always the gods if we didn't understand it. But it was mostly based on their immediate. Now, we don't live in the immediate. Every time you turn on the TV, it's a Dead Sea Scrolls. Then 2 days ago, 3.3, I have the clipping. Did you see this in the news? The stone tools that were found on excavation about 2 days ago?
No, I didn't.
Oldest tools on planet Earth, 3.3 million years old.
Wow.
Stone cutting tools before the metal came along. And intact. Like they found the tools at the work site. Mm-hmm. They found so this kind of vivid revealing of the past that is completely factual. There are no ghosts in that room. Aren't we making the path to the past for that reason? Isn't that why we're reaching back? Because some of us weren't bright enough to retain it, so we have to go back the next generation and reinstall or activate what's in the deep memory?
If you were talking like this, if a person is talking like this for the reason of wanting to go into their past lives, I would agree with you, Ed. But the people who want to go into past lives want to know who they were and what baggage they brought with them into this life, why their life is so chaotic, why they can't hold on to relationships, why they can't do this, why they can't do that.
Than the human race. You just said Cleopatra.
Yeah.
and the other one, Caesar.
Right.
They were superlative humans.
Yes, they were.
Well, then it makes sense that the world has always, in world history, Greeks, Romans, modern, have always made the visionary miserable. The visionary has never been welcomed. They crucified Jesus. They stabbed Caesar.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you don't win any votes on American Idol by being, Caesar or Jesus. You can't.
Yeah.
It's thousands of years later they talk about you. But at the time, everybody piles on you, don't they? I mean, isn't Galileo? Who has not been piled on in history when they do the level at which you describe? Caesar. What's the history of those folks? JFK. What's the history of them?
I see your point.
I'm asking, what do you feel? What is your opinion of the history of those folks? What does it look like to you if you plot them on a graph? Cleopatra, Caesar, Jesus, JFK, MLK. Take your heroes every 100 years. What becomes of them? The ones that we love, the ones that are really the groundbreakers, the incredible types.
Right. We keep them. We keep them. We keep renewing our interest, our faith in them. We look at their accomplishments and say, you know what? Look what happened back then. Look at what these people did. We acknowledge their accomplishments, and everyone in life wants to be remembered. Everyone. I don't think there's anyone on this planet who does not want to have their 15 minutes or 20 minutes of fame. And this is why they look to the past, because they want to be. We are a society that mimics, except on the Ed TYLL show. You're a leader, Ed. You've taken your thoughts, you've taken your ideas, you've taken your dreams and turned them into reality. Look where you are today. You've got your own network, for goodness sake. So many people out there have great ideas, and they don't go forward with them. However, when you look back in history, and they see these, well, it's just like when you're a kid. Everybody wants to be a cowboy, Wyatt Earp, and all these great guys, because you could look up to them. And if going through life, you can't recognize your own qualities, your own abilities, and you have to look back in history. And when people do that and they say, okay, this is what this person did. I see how they accomplished this. I understand why they did what they did. And by using history, using the past, you better understand the present so that you can go on into the future.
Not only do I love listening to you, have you heard this before? You have the most amazing diction. You don't make any breathing sounds, and you sound a little like William H. Macy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. I can tell you right now, you're a joy to listen to. I have another big concept. I agree with everything you just said. I'm not even going to push back. There's another big issue you've already mentioned. I know this is still the first of the 5 guys, but I wrote it down. You mentioned hypnotism.
Yes.
May I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
All right. I was hypnotized at the age of 25. And because of exactly what you might imagine. Talk radio boy is young. Talk radio boy has a hypnotist in the studio. The hypnotist is getting calls for 3 hours like he's a rock star, and everybody's asking everything they ever wanted to know. I said, Jesus Christ, I got to ask this guy to hypnotize me after the show. So in the lobby of the radio station, 11 o'clock on whatever weeknight it was, I said, can you do it? He goes, of course. He goes, get a comfortable seat, and I'll be right out. He went to the men's room because he'd just done his whole thing on the air. Comes out, so I'm sitting there going, oh, boy, this is going to be a fucking jerk off now. Just because he got all these fucking calls. Now he's going to bullshit me, and I'm going to sit here. Oh, I was so mad at him. So he comes out, and he's like, are you ready? I said, yes, I am. And he says to me that I was hypnotized because I'm not supposed to lose my consciousness. He goes, you were being truthful with me. He goes, your guard was down. He goes, you're not supposed to wake up and forgot what we did. He goes, this isn't Abbott and Costello, follow the thing I'm swinging in front of your face. It's real hypnotism. So I came away that night saying, he's probably onto something, but how powerful is hypnotism if I hardly felt it? He says I was ready for him to say, well, it looks like I can't hypnotize you. And then he goes the other way. What is your personal take on hypnotism? You and I are both grown-ups. We've been around a long time. It's been around since we were children. What have you surmised about hypnotism that you would say to people? Here's my considered opinion of what hypnotism is. It's a fake, or it's not a fake, or it's in between. What is it?
I believe, and this is just my own belief, Ed, that the the science or art of hypnotism is still yet to be totally understood. I believe that the truth behind hypnotism lies in the 80 to 85% of the human brain that is yet to be discovered. I believe that the power of belief is the strongest power in the universe. If you believe something strong enough, it will happen, or you will perceive it to happen.
Wow.
When I could see with my very own eyes what Georgina Cannon did with my wife over a telephone call and how she was able to help Laura through this medical procedure, I have to believe. I don't understand it, but I do believe.
I'm with you on what you said. If I had your experience, I think I'd sound like you, but as I say, not as articulate and eloquent. You're great. Now, please allow me to stand out of the way. Who was next in line after Georgina that you wanted to use as an illustration of the kind of great stuff that's on your show?
All right. Now, on our show, which is 4 hours, Ed, she's the first guest. But what I've done is I've rearranged my schedule to bring the very best of that week's show to the first so that we can share these guests with your listeners. Then we have Larry Campbell coming on. He's going to be talking to us about messages from the ancients, the Mayans, the Peruvians, the Incas, the Native Americans, the Hopis.
Are you really going to do this on your show, or you're saying this to get me jazzed up? You're honest to God going to do this after the one you just did with Georgina? You're going to go to this ancient stuff?
Oh, no. This is Tuesday. You see,
God. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're doubling the time of the show. I can't just put on 1 hour Monday. Monday, you got to send us 2 hours. Is it too late to change the encoder?
No.
Can we have 2 hours on Monday?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to me.
Do you mind if we take 2 hours on Monday, or is that a problem? Because I already said one.
For you? For Ed Till, you've got it.
I'll tell you why. You hit on my second favorite subject now.
What's that?
You were eavesdropping the other day. There was a big news item out of London. Somebody opened up some cellar and found something, and all these archaeologists are running to downtown London, not out to the middle of nowhere, for a find. And the find is reflective of the ancients. So if you're really going to do first stuff like Georgina and hypnotism and all that, and then you're going to go to this, I'm in. I mean, this is one of my second, and I believe this is another one that even though it's the X zone, this is all reliant on data points and discoveries. Am I right? This genre?
You are so right.
God, I love your show. I go to number 3. Who was the next person in the next category?
The number 3, we're going to be doing a little bit of switching around because of the 2 hours now. We're going to bring the best for the first 2 hours.
I screwed you all up now.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. It's always. And by the way, I've got a bone to pick with you.
I'm sure. I got plenty of time. Okay? Go for it.
My staff now listen to Starcom Radio on their desktops, on their laptops, and on their handheld devices.
Wow. We have infected them.
You have.
We've infected them.
You have. You know, you're worse than a Trojan. You're worse than a worm. But at least...
You're funny. But a worm is so funny that you would use the word because the kids think computer worm. And Trojan was the only condom brand when I was a kid. Just called me a condom and a computer virus, and I love it. Do you know that I love that? How about we make the show 3 hours? Can you do 3 hours on Monday? Right now, I'm in charge of the damn network. I say what goes on. You want to do 3 hours on Monday?
Do you want to do 3 hours?
I do. Right now, I do, because I'm having more fun with you than I've had with Art Bell, more fun than I've had with George Noory, and more fun even right now. We just had a bigger laugh than my last laugh with Larry King because he's getting old.
Yeah, God bless him.
Larry laughs like this. He goes, "Ah!" Was that funny? He goes, "Yeah, it was damn funny." I said, "All right." He's got fish oil. He's my buddy, though. I love Larry. Do you love Larry? What nighttime guy in radio doesn't love Larry King?
That's true. He is the Grand Master.
He really, see how nice it sounds when you say it? I feel like, do you want to plot a murder in Fargo and just see how this goes? Why don't you and I plot a murder? Then we get a couple of the other hosts to drive the car. We get somebody with a wood chipper. We see how this goes. I think we could do a better job than that goddamn television series. I hate that TV series. I love that movie. And I think of you now in every William H. Macy role.
Really?
I do. You have precision. You have emotion. You have a quality of humanity that I don't possess. Good Lord. Are you kidding? But what do you think my family used to love to go to Canada for? This is why we loved to go when I was a kid. We'd go to Farnham and visit my little aunt Florence there. And everybody was so nice and well-read. And I don't know, it just seemed like very intimidating.
No, it shouldn't be.
Now I love it. Now I can't get enough of it. Now I'm a groupie for the stuff because, our country's getting more and more coarse. America's losing its vocabulary. America never uses a thesaurus, and every time America hears a word that it doesn't recognize, it gets scared, runs out of the room, instead of sticking around and see how the word fits in a sentence. Why not learn this word? Why not take, Rob's pronunciation? You have very good pronunciation, and you pause well. You don't run all over the place. It's very educational. It is. It's a very good role model, in addition to the material.
I thank you for that, sir.
Quite welcome. I'm an appreciator, believe me. All right, you were going to go to number 3, and I interrupted.
Okay, now I'm looking at my schedule, saying, "All right, who am I going to put where now?" Let's go.
Rattle off your people. I'm in love with everything you're saying. Just pick the next thing you were going to talk about.
All right, let's go to the first guest Wednesday night. His name may sound familiar to you, Paul Hellyer.
Why? I was swallowing coffee. Why does that sound familiar? Why?
He was the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada under Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
Oh, of course. Every American's favorite Prime Minister of Canada has always been Elliott Trudeau. Yeah. He had Margaret, didn't he, with the Rolling Stones?
That's right.
Okay, well, What do you want from us? What do you think? We're going to remember more than that? It's about what we know.
Yeah.
Trudeau, wife, Rolling Stones, not in office anymore, I hear.
No, he passed away a number of years ago. But his son, Justin, is now running in the next election to become the Prime Minister of Canada.
Maybe I'll get the dual citizenship and throw him a vote.
Hey,
Could I get the paperwork done in time to help this kid?
Well, aren't you and I related from way back when?
I guess.
I'll sponsor you.
Reptile brain. I guess that's what it's all coming down to. We were all reptiles together.
Yeah.
This is great. So what do you think of the kid? Or I should say the young Trudeau?
I look at him and I see his dad. I've had the pleasure of meeting his dad. Who was very, very well liked. He was well respected. So he gave the press and the people the finger once or twice. Big deal. If you deserve it, you get it.
It's a reason to love you. Yeah. It is a reason to love you. That you got that kind of ball.
So I'm voting for the young Trudeau. I believe in the platform that he has. I believe in his way of talking to people, and you can see that he doesn't stay high and mighty. He gets right down to the same level as the people, and he talks to them. He listens to them. I'm not to flatter
Canada so much, but I just get the feeling the Canadian people do their part too. Americans like to say, "I'm over here if you want to see me. I'm over here if you want to talk to me." I really believe in Canada. You're like, "Oh, someone is speaking to us. Why don't we try and hear what's being said a little bit to make it easier for that speaker to get through to us?" And America, like, "Shut up!" And in Canada, I just think they'd be like, "Yeah, I'd like to hear what he has to say." Instead of setting the place on fire, and I don't like his political, let's hear the man.
Yeah.
Am I right? Is there a little more of hear the man before we throw a bottle at him in your country? Your country seems to be more interested.
Well, what we want to do is we want to listen, because that's what communication is all about. It's a two-way street. If you only have a one-way street in communication, no problems will ever get solved.
Not in America. It's not. I'm kidding. You're great. This is going to be fun. Now, who else is on your list?
All right, let me just go back down to Paul Hellyer for a second. I know we're under the time.
I'm writing that down. PaulHellier.
YER.
YER. Thank you. Go on.
Now, as I said, he was the former Deputy Prime Minister under Pierre Elliott Trudeau, but he was also the Minister of Defense. And he's come out and said, and we're going to get him to say it right here on the Starcom Radio Network, that UFOs are real. We have been visited by UFOs. There is a conspiracy and a cover-up being perpetrated by the Canadian government and the American government.
Wow. Wow. Gee, that kind of changes everything I was feeling a moment ago. Well, this is a great show. So this is what you're going to do to people on the air? This is going to be awesome.
Well, of course. I'm going to ask him if he's taken his meds before he came on the show.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. But,
I can help you if you want me to hide his meds. So that you guaranteed get the wild card. You know what I mean? Like, if you want me to set these things up, just say the word. I must have an intern who knows how to do it. I must have a kid that knows how to do it.
But I've had him on the show before. He's great. He's not afraid. He believes what he believes, and, he tells you why.
Oh, man, this is great.
And then
what else topic-wise, might we find you doing that would also be a treat? So far, we've had past lives, hypnotism,
right,
ancient messaging, archaeology, messages from the past, and this Hellier fella who's awesome.
Okay,
what
we're going to be
subjects do you or people do you bump into? I am having a ball. Tell me more.
All right, this week we're going to be talking to Patty Greer about crop circles, supers. There you go, crop circles. We're going to be talking to Wesley Roberts about alien abductions.
Oh man!
We're going to be talking to.
I got to buy extra popcorn if you're having all these topics, man. I'm canceling a couple of things because I usually do comedy on Wednesday nights. If willing, I have consenting sex with an adult woman my age on Tuesdays. Thursdays, I'm usually recovering from the first two. But I think this coming week, I'm canceling it all. I swear to God, I used to do this when I was a kid. When I used to buy a record album, I used to buy some treats for myself for the upcoming weekend. My father would go work on the car. My mother would go shopping. I'd be alone in the apartment with my snacks and my album. Wow. And I would have the liner sheet out. I would be relaxing like it was my own private resort. And then I hear the footsteps. I have to pick everything up. But that was my thing. I'm getting the same idea with you. I'm going to get a few noshes in the house. I'm going to get myself some good booze for a good buzz. And I'm going to sit there and get loaded enjoying you. I think this is going to be great. I really, I didn't see this whole vista. It just shows you time people spend together, right?
Yeah.
This is all coming out because we're hanging out, right? And I actually thought this was all going to happen Monday. Remember this Monday, I kind of screwed you because you were on holiday and you waited for my call, and I slept right through it.
That's all right.
And then I said to you, I was so sorry.
Yeah.
I said, we'll be on next Monday. And then I said, please take the cell phone. Don't ever wait for me. I mean, I already got nervous. I got hives thinking about that. So this was a pleasant surprise today. When I was talking to Pat Horgan and I saw 3 o'clock and I saw you, I said, wow. My notes are full. I have a full page of notes on our discussion. Having a great time. What else would you like to turn us on to? From your grab bag of interesting, compelling talk radio. It's the X Zone, I should say. Radio. How do you like the title? Let me get your branding correct. Say it the way you always say it, and I will learn it from you right now.
The X Zone Radio Show.
Wow. That's it? You don't even mention Rob McConnell?
No.
Wow.
I know who I am. My listeners know who I am.
You are amazing. How long have you been doing radio?
I've been doing this very show 24 years.
And you have a full head of hair and a great mustache? How is everything not falling out?
It's very simple. I've got a great wife.
You do. I heard the tone with which you referred to her, and all men know this since the beginning of time. You don't have to ask guys how they feel about their women. It's the tone, it's the vocabulary. The way you spoke about her as you two as a team and Georgina as a third person, I picked that up from her. You know what? You're aces. What small town when you grow up, or you grew up in the big city? What was it like when you went to?
Actually, I grew up 35 miles south of Montreal in a little city called Chambly. My mom grew up there. My dad is from New Brunswick, and they met in Montreal. And over the years, they had me and my brother, and we lived in. My parents, God bless them, they're 85 and 86. My mom's birthday was yesterday. Their anniversary was on Tuesday. They still live in the same house that my brother and I grew up in. And we grew up in, like I said, in Chambly. It's a little town, smaller than Farnham, if you can believe that.
How should I spell that? I'm trying to Google it.
Chambly.
Thank you. And what do you think the distance is? I'm going to right now Google the distance between Chambly and Farnham, where I used to go, which is close to Montreal. It was right outside the city.
I'd say it's about 35, 45 miles, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. You know what I did the other evening is just like this. I went through all of our affiliates in these towns. I Google Earthed them, and then I looked and saw where their supermarket was. Then I went and saw where the school was. And I said, I am going to know this. Why should I know this?
Exactly.
I want to know. And then I checked out their elevations. Who's up in the mountains? Who's down? Because my Oregon people are in one of the most breathtakingly beautiful places where the west coast of the United States, not the California version, but this just dramatic kind of swashbuckling, the ocean crashing up against the mountains. My station is right on the path out to that ocean.
Oh
if you were in Central Oregon and you had to find the valley, it's Route 30. And it goes to the ocean from the 5. The 5 is the big spinal column up and down the left-hand western side of the United States. The Interstate 5 will take you from Mexico all the way straight up until you can't go any further. But, man, when you get a look at Route 30, it looks like a postcard or a movie or something. So I got all excited. Now I'm thinking about you being in Chambly, and I'm looking at Farnham. See, this is to me what radio's about. Radio's about your town. Radio's about the street you lived on. It's the color of your bike. It's Rosebud. It's the sled you had when you were a kid.
That's what real radio is about. Real radio is the people's network.
That's right. And we are, our slogan, broadcast real characters. My friend, you are an elegant and authentic, real character on the network. You and I are not too different, even though we couldn't sound more different. But we're not that different. It's just that you make such a lovely appearance and a lovely demeanor that I look like a barbarian Viking. But that's okay.
I disagree.
I can live with it. Well, good. I want you to have a better opinion of me than I have of me. I hope your opinion of me is higher than my own, because my opinion of me is extremely hurting right now.
By the way,
I listen to you and go, Jesus Christ, this guy speaks better English than you. This guy knows more than you. This guy sounds like everybody likes William H. Macy and everybody hates you. So where do you think this guy's going to be in a couple of years? I hear it. I hear it coming down the road.
I'm going to be on the Starcom radio network with my buddy Ed Till.
You're going to be a star. You're going to be a star on Starcom instantly starting Monday. If you already don't have a fan base from your visits, I'll be surprised. If I go look at those numbers tonight, last night I looked at numbers from last week, and it's every hour, it's every day, so you really got to uncross your eyes and look in there. We had a spectacular couple of hours, and I went back and looked at it and who was on, and I noticed for the second time now, this happened to me twice, how willing our audience is to just pile on what they like. So I feel when they hear you, already it's happening. I'll bet you your visits, because you started with me a little after 3 today, didn't you?
Yes, that's right.
Well, it's 3:45 any minute. So we're sucking up most of this listening hour. My guess is this is going to be a high-rated hour. That's my guess.
If you'd be kind enough to send me the stats, I'd appreciate it.
You're so clever. They're proprietary, so I publish at will the most flattering, just like my buddies at Nielsen and NBC.
Same thing we do.
Yeah. That's what I do. By the way, I can't believe we're talking about this. Did you see yesterday they issued the ratings for all the big networks in North America?
No, I didn't.
The ratings were published. No. Okay, if you had to pick based on gut, who gets more viewers? ABC, NBC, CBS? Because clearly there's a separation in this past spring. One guy is rocketing up, the other guy's falling like a rock.
I'd have to go with CBS.
Doing which way?
Going up.
That's correct. And who do you think is falling like a rock?
ABC.
Who's got Brian Williams' problem?
Oh, NBC.
Wow.
Yeah.
It looks like the USS Cole.
Really?
When those guys blew a hole in it in the side. And the Cole didn't sink, but it was damaged. Yeah, everybody could see the damage. There was a gaping hole and I knew it. I had an instinct about it because the slap. Do you remember the show that was just on this season about the kid getting slapped?
No, I'm sorry.
It's a big drama series about a family gathering where a non-parent slaps a child in the face.
Oh, my gosh.
Right. In America, it happens every day, but this episode of TV, it was where everybody wanted to go to court, and everybody wanted to this and that. So they thought this was as edgy as you get. It was edgy. I did see the first episode. See that kid get whacked. That was a rough thing to put on TV. But my point to you is, even with that provocative, ordinary experience, right? Any parent would say, oh, my God, I got to see the show. Forget it. They have lost so much from the news. Brian Williams, it's not that people are upset about Brian Williams. It reinforced that they're in decay.
Yeah.
The general feeling is all of the networks are in decay. That's a general feeling. That's not a journalism. That's just a supermarket, a gal online buying milk and cereal. They said, do you watch the news? I don't watch the news like I used to. Really? Well, it's all this and sensationalism and heads getting cut off. And, we don't do that in my house. If they would just tell me they're going to build a bridge from the city council to the thing, of course. A teacher pay, of course. But you think I'm going to listen to, ISIS? So I feel for those people.
So
that breaks my heart. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. It's like, they want to live in a glass bubble. They keep their head buried in the sand, and you know this better than most people that I know, Ed. In today's media, if it don't bleed, it don't lead.
At all. Yeah. At all. I mean, today you really got to blow something. I mean, years ago, when I first started, bleed lead was a throwaway expression by crabby guys. Now it's in everybody's lexicon. There isn't anybody who doesn't know what you just said. And that's what bothers me most. Now you'll know why I'm on the air still screaming at almost 60 years of age, and I started at 19, and I'm not nearly done. I had a gal on earlier today about animal rights, and a woman just this week locked a dog in the car. Dog almost died, and I was angry for the same reason I'm angry on the subject you and I are discussing. If we've been screaming about this for 30 years, if it's been on the 5 o'clock news for 30 years, and you're 30 and you do it, I may have to personally choke you.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the law. I am going to come to your house and choke you out in front of the dog and get his applause. Then I'm going to feed the dog, and we're going to sit there and have a nice meal while your corpse with my thumbprints on your windpipe are right there for the police. I'll say, arrest me. I did it on purpose. I deliberately did this because I can't stand another generation of this kind of level of ignorance. So ignorance persistence, bleeds it leads, is the worst thing to me about it bleeds it leads. This has been a persistent criticism of the Western American media, is it not? I mean, it mostly America, but we're not the only ones who do it.
You were talking about animals, and, when it comes to animal rights, I'm all for it. One of the tenures I did as the as president and CEO of rel-mar, our mother company, I was hired by the SPCA to take care of their marketing and communications, and my job was to get the behind the scenes of what really happens during the investigation of an animal cruelty case.
Right.
If you saw what really happened, Ed, what really happened, I'm not talking about these little episodes on TV, these nice personalities who come on to ask for money for the different humane societies.
Sarah McLachlan and J-Lo's doing it right now.
They're doing good. They're doing good. Man, your heart would break, your hand would go in your pocket, and you'd be throwing money at this. But where the problem lies is, like you were saying, is the education of the people who own pets. There's so much more to it. I've seen dogs that were totally abused. I've seen hoarding cases where I went in with the inspectors, by the way, who are peace officers up here in Canada. They have the right to arrest and to execute warrants and everything. 60, 70, 80 cats in a house, garbage up to the ceiling, dead cats buried under the garbage. And what these inspectors and investigators do is they're not only there helping the animals, but in a majority of the case, they're helping the people too. And that's something you don't see. So it was my job to bring these cases to the media, put them on television. And what I would do is when we went to a hoarding case or an animal abuse case, I would call the media. They would meet me there. And we would go in with the inspectors. Shock.
Right. Exactly. Right. Even professionals who see this stuff, still new level of shock and horror when you walk in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'm with you, man. Here's what I really, really love about you is you don't, lose control like I do. I think you got to have yin yang. Everybody has a certain role on a network. You are very rational, reasonable, but you're no less passionate or devoted or laser focused. So that to me is a valuable persona on a team. I'm very much about team playing. Can I mention one thing to you as we wrap up here that is not related, but I think is a great benefit of your show for us on Starcom?
Sure, please.
I'm about to talk about an amazing website that helps you set up your business and, make your business easier for you. I have lots of folks like this that advertise on the show. What makes them special, and you notice I haven't used their brand name yet. I'm just talking about them before I begin the ad after you leave. But I think this speaks to you. This website is full of common sense, no magic wands. It just deals with the realities of here's your business and here's how it can be better. What makes it unique, and you as well, this comes from outside the United States. There's never been more need inside the United States for people to understand folks outside the United States and do the great American exercise of borrowing great ideas, incorporating them, and inadvertently building a beautiful bridge between the two sides. I saw this thing going on in Canada. It's a marvelous idea. I heard this fella talking to Ed. He was marvelous. And now I think I'd like to bring it up at the city council. I went and rethought that great Canadian idea that no one's mentioned down here. Here's how it adapts to Claremont, Florida, a small town. And then some people go, what do I? And then after that's over, those people usually have gas problems and go outside and take their Beano. The real people sit still and go, geez, that is a good idea. Boy, can we talk about it at the next meeting? Yes, I'll look up what they did. I'll get the statistics. I'll get the budget. Yes, bring all that in here. Let's see if that idea could possibly apply to our progress. So from you in Canada to clever activity. Is that a beautiful word? She made it up. From Rome, Italy, a gal opens up a company and reaches all the way to America and says, here are some great things for your business. And she comes to me over the online. Fiverr is a very, very reasonably priced marketing site. I love it. She comes to me through that. And I'm telling you, man, this is a very critically important, but also a pleasant ingredient in the American way. The American way is to look around, grab ideas, apply them, and wherever you got it from, you start shaking hands. Hey, I like you guys. We took this idea from you. Did you? Yeah, we love it, and it was a reason to say hello.
Ed, I know you're a busy man. I want to thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We look forward to communicating with you over the weekend as the schedule has changed. But I'll tell you something. Whenever you call, we'll be here for you, my friend.
Do you guys love as much as I do a beginning like this? Like, Monday night there'll be new listeners that have never heard you before. They had a totally different lifestyle until that night you're there. That is kind of exciting, isn't it?
It certainly is. It really is.
Still at our age. At our age, we still get jazzed up about stuff like that, don't we?
We sure do, my friend.
All right, my buddy. For anything I've done to truly offend you, when you get off the air, you're going to go, oh, boy, that was painful. I want to apologize in advance. I want you to know these visits will get more and more comfortable for you because I'm an acquired taste.
I had a blast today.
You did?
I had a great time.
Your wife's not going to say, oh, my God, why don't you let him talk over you more?
My gosh,
why don't you? Every time you try to tell him something, he talks about himself. Everything you...
Ed, I had a great time, and I would just like to leave you and the listeners tonight with the closing I use at the end of every show.
Please.
Always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light.
Wow. All right. I will. Based on your direction, I shall. That's exactly what I'm about to do. Are you a Miles Davis fan at all?
Yes.
I bet. Last night I listened to Kind of Blue all the way through 3 times while I did my mail and email and read the news. We'll talk about Miles Davis one day. We'll talk about music.
By the way, I loved your show last week when you were talking about your apartment overlooking the Hollywood Bowl. Loved that.
Oh, isn't that? Yeah, wasn't that something?
It was.
It was so. I'll tell you something. That's a great topic for us one day. What makes all of the great cities in North America romantic?
Hey, I like that idea. Let's do that sometime.
Thank you, buddy. Have a great weekend. A pleasure having you on.
Thank you.